everyone, and welcome back to the Silly Million YouTube channel. So I thought I'd take a little bit of a different approach and talk a little bit more about the behind the scenes elements of the challenge itself. Naturally for me, I don't do this YouTube channel full time, it's sort of a side thing alongside my full-time job as a consultant. So I wanted to explain a little bit more about the behind the scenes of how these weekly videos are put together. So first of all, I'll talk about what goes into the video from a content creation perspective. On average, each video takes roughly around 10 hours a week to make. Naturally, kind of the main element of the challenge is to find a bunch of different hustles and then add those and research those and implement those. So that takes up roughly around 4 hours of my time each week. With these hustles, I'll check them around twice daily. First of all, checking them probably in the morning, and then secondly, checking them around 5 PM towards the end of the day, just to make sure to see if there's any income that's come in, or really just to make sure if there's any usability tests or mechanical Turk tasks I can do or anything like that. I keep all these elements organised in the bookmarks on my browser, and this allows me to just click through each of them in kind of a cohesive order. Anytime a new hustle is added to the challenge, I add these to the bookmarks, and so that I can kind of stay on track of everything that's going on. When it comes to creating a video itself, I tend to create a script, which roughly takes me about 2 hours to make. After writing that 2-hour script, I tend to spend about 20 minutes filming, and then maybe retake some shots just because the tone of voice doesn't sound quite right or something like that. And of course I'm going to get better at that the more and more I film and the more and more I provide a commentary to the hustles and things that I'm doing. Once completed, I then transfer that video file to the laptop. Once I send it over to the laptop, I then transfer it to iMovie. Yeah, iMovie. We're not using any sort of expensive editing software here. For me, I've just been editing videos for about 6 weeks, so therefore iMovie is just really like an ideal software for me to use, as it's just simple and intuitive and just kind of does the job really for me with my experience. Once the video is uploaded, I then spend the time cutting down the clips for around 2 hours to try and create the final cut. And then once I've spent that 2 hours cutting things down, I add in the relevant stock footage, captions, and all those kind of like clever little editing things that you see. A key thing to remember when putting together any sort of YouTube video is always considering things like copyright and infringement laws and all of that kind of stuff. Personally, I use a site called Pexels for the stock footage and imagery, and then for music I use a site called Upbeat, which has a really nice range of copyright-free music to it. Once all the little intricacies of the video are put in, I then rewatch the video, make sure that I'm happy with it to be put in the public domain on YouTube, and then go through the uploading process from there. If you're into YouTube, you also know that the thumbnail is quite a key component too. And most humans are kind of visual creatures, so that we'll potentially look at the thumbnail as opposed to the title of the actual video. So thumbnails are a really key component to uploading a video to YouTube. To create my thumbnails, I use a site called Canva, and they have a bunch of really useful YouTube templates to work with. Using these for inspiration, I then spend around 20 to 30 minutes kind of messing around with the imagery and the colours, and obviously adding in my face if possible, with kind of that like no background look. And then once happy, I can then download that and add it to the YouTube upload system. Once the video is uploaded, what I'll tend to do then is just upload it to my LinkedIn and my Instagram. So the LinkedIn's kind of where I like to post anything public, and then obviously with Instagram I have it on a private mode, so therefore it just makes sense for me to post that amongst kind of my friends and family and smaller network really. So when it comes to actually tracking the challenge itself, this tends to look a little bit less exciting than some of the more creative elements that I spoke about before. Like I've mentioned previously, I keep all my bookmarks in one place on the browser, so it just allows me to filter through those in a really easy way. But obviously one of the key components of the video is tracking the revenue, and to do this I basically have a really boring exciting spreadsheet where I keep all of this tracked. In terms of the spreadsheet itself, I keep it in a kind of revenue per video structure, which allows me to then know exactly what I've made in that particular week since the last video, and then allows me to tally everything up in a way where it's easily trackable, and so that I don't really get confused on when that money comes in and where that's going, and I don't want to get all confused, like I say. In this spreadsheet, I also keep a tally of my revenue and profit numbers too, so that's what you tend to see at the end of the videos. A really useful thing that I've added is just the Google Sheets spreadsheet app to my phone. So you can imagine if I'm out and about and I receive a ping from PayPal saying that $10 has been added to my PayPal account, I know that I can just quickly add that into the spreadsheet and I won't lose track of any of the income figures as the week goes by. Where possible, I also try to follow the links that I leave in my YouTube description too, to try and give me an idea of engagement with those. The platform that I use to track the links is called bit.ly, and you might have seen that around the internet in certain links, and really all that is a tracking link where you can see the engagement with users on the links that you leave all around the internet, so it allows you to see the performance of those clicks. As well as those engagement trackers, obviously being on YouTube, there's the YouTube Data Studio, and this allows me to have a fully rounded view of channel activity from a user and engagement perspective. And I can also use this data to help me understand which videos are successful and which videos aren't. Data is king, so all this stuff's really, really valuable for me as a content creator. So yeah, there's lots that goes into creating these weekly videos. For me, it's really interesting to see the amount of effort and time that goes into YouTube videos. As someone who's consumed a lot of these over the years, you sometimes don't think about the hard work of a YouTuber. And I guess a lot of people say, oh, all they do is make videos for a living, but it's definitely a really tough job to create like the best possible content for sure. In terms of this week's income, I'll flash up all of the numbers now. As I always say at the end of each video, it's okay sometimes to be a little bit silly.